Creaking floors and empty rooms, abandoned mansions seem to be frozen in time, waiting for their owners. And if the houses of millionaires looked like this before they were abandoned, now they're adorned with the terrifying prospect of going through an old rusty gate into an overgrown and wild garden. What is hidden in these abandoned mansions? Now we will show you the homes of millionaires with secrets that were kept for decades. Double walls, secret rooms, and mysterious pantries. What was found in them after their owners passed away is beyond explanation. Let's take a look right now. Let's start with Colombia. Here is the villa of the toughest and most famous drug lord in the world, Pablo Escobar. The Cocaine King specifically built this villa to hide money in the openings between the double walls. And there was a lot of money to hide. At the peak of his so-called career, he made $420 million per week. Only on rubber bands to wrap wads of cash, the cartel spent $2,500 per month. Where can so much money be stored? Try guessing. Poor Escobar had to hide stacks of money in Colombia's farm fields. Some money was simply lost. There was so much that Pablo himself didn't know the exact amount of money he was making. His son later recalled how he burnt $2 million in cash in the fireplace to keep the family warm. Such stories give you goosebumps, but that's not all. Every year, about $2 million of his hidden money became worthless due to damp and rodents. But for the richest criminal of all time, this was like losing pocket change. After all, the network he created was estimated at $30 billion. It's not surprising that even after the execution of the drug lord, Escobar's property continued to be searched in the hope of finding treasure. And eventually, someone did. One of Pablo's mansions in Miami was acquired by a businessman who, during the reconstruction of the building, found a safe in a hidden cache. But importantly, this was not the only hidden cache of the drug lord. Treasure hunters pierced almost all of the walls in his houses to find hidden goods. One of them found a secret room which contained a safe, various important documents, and fine gold jewelry. This find was estimated at $1 billion. Even now, treasure hunters continue to scour territories close to Escobar's houses. Indeed, on such a site, for example, you might find a football field, a swimming pool, as well as a helipad. Searching them is not easy, but there could be hidden caches of money stored anywhere. In total, the drug lord has 989 houses. Would you like to search one of them? Perhaps you'll be the lucky one who finds a hidden cache of treasure. If there are role models, then this next one is our hero. The abandoned mansion of Steve Jobs turned out to be a real historical monument. The locals liked him, so much so that they even tried to sue him. More precisely, they wanted to block Jobs from doing whatever he wanted. For example, demolishing a historic property. The founder of Apple bought a chic estate in a revivalist style with preserved furniture, beautiful architecture, and a secret room containing books that belonged to previous owners. The room, more like a pantry than a library, was hidden under the stairs. I wonder what kind of books he found there. Books on philosophy, psychology, alchemy? We may never know. Steve lived there for about 10 years. However, over time, tired of such an old architectural style, he decided to build something more comfortable and modern. But the inhabitants of the town filed a lawsuit against Jobs, claiming the desecration of historical monuments. It took the judge 7 long years to decide that Jobs could do whatever he wanted with his property. Despite his victory in court, Jobs did not have time to build his dream home. He received permission to demolish the building in the last months of his life, turning the building into one of the most expensive abandoned mansions in the world. This mansion is Michael Jackson's. More specifically, it's Neverland Ranch, which he named in honor of his favorite place in the story of Peter Pan, Neverland. On the property, there's an amusement park, a cinema, a zoo, and a giant residence. Just imagine, the ranch is 5 times the size of the state of Monaco and comparable to the big island of Hawaii. To cross the vast 1,200-hectare territory, you need to use a small train with 3 wagons. Moving around the territory would also be quite difficult. It would take you 3 hours to explore all its surroundings, even if you were to drive around without taking any breaks to check out all of the attractions. Over 200 various animals were held in Jackson Zoo. There was a yard with giraffes, a terrarium where an albino python lived, an ostrich farm, a giant enclosure for an elephant named Gypsy who was gifted to Michael by Elizabeth Taylor, but that's not all. The park had a Ferris wheel and some roller coasters. In the house itself, there are 25 rooms, a guest room with high ceilings, a rustic kitchen, an office, a library, 7 bedrooms. However, judging based on everything, Michael Jackson wanted to hide in his big world. Yeah, there are already 1,200 hectares to hide secrets here. It's possible some of Michael Jackson's secrets have yet to be uncovered. But imagine how, when after the death of the singer, a secret room was discovered in the mansion, the door to which was hidden behind clothes and stage costumes in the dressing room. This room was tiny, only 8 by 7 feet. What do you think was inside? Gold bullion? A safe? Not at all. It was a child-style bedroom containing a bed of soft toys and pillows in the form of Peter Pan, a bedside table with a Mickey Mouse phone, and paintings on the walls of babies in diapers. Now the estate has fallen into decay. Fairy tale characters have long since been covered with a thick layer of dust, and the amusement park looks like a location for horror movies. Would you risk staying here alone, even for a night? That's right, it's not worth it. Unless, of course, you want to become food for Pennywise the Clown. But take a look at this mansion. What do you think happened here? This is the abandoned mansion of the legendary Mike Tyson. Do you see a chair in the pool? Apparently, Tyson was very angry during his arrest, which is understandable. Imagine people from the FBI bursting into the house of a world champion boxer without warning. You wouldn't envy anyone in that position. The 25,000 square foot giant estate is located southeast of Cleveland, Ohio. There's only one room which occupies more than 900 square meters and, of course, an impressive pool. It was like that when the boxer bought his house at the peak of his career. Back then, he earned more than $200,000 per second. No, that's not a mistake. Tyson received about $300 million over his career. Unfortunately, not everything in Tyson's life went so well. Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in jail, of which he served 3 years in prison. He had to leave his chic mansion and later sell it to pay his debts. But just take a look at this interior. Wipe off the dust and it could be lived in again, except for the train wreck, which is the living room. In addition, the boxer simply adored white tigers, so naturally he acquired a few. As befits a millionaire, the tiger enclosure was located near the house. Would you dare to enter it? But do you know what you will now find in his house? A new celebrity owner? No, a church. Yeah, the mansion is being reconstructed and will be made into a house of God. Worship services will be conducted, prayers will be said, there will even be a church school. In place of the pool, they decided to put an altar, while in the garage where there used to be fancy cars of the famous boxer, there will instead be a nursery for the smallest parishioners. You'll ask, what about the cages for tigers? No, they will not lock sinners in there, they were dismantled. On the second floor of the luxurious mansion, where there used to be 2 bedrooms and 2 gigantic washrooms, it was decided to make room for wedding ceremonies. This is why you can register your marriage in the exact spot where Mike Tyson slept. It is also there that they plan to conduct meetings for parishioners and hold ceremonies. What do you think? Is it a worthy use of this abandoned mansion, or should it have been left untouched for his descendants? Maybe make a museum for fans of the legendary boxer. After all, he went down in boxing history with his incredible fights. He had 50 wins, of which 44 were knockouts. In 1986, he became the youngest absolute world champion, repeatedly recognized as champion by the WBC, WBA, IBF, and The Ring. Many of his records still cannot be beaten. Well, at least now you can pray a lot for Mike Tyson in his own home. Unlike me, I just pray for Mike Tyson in my home. Refined woodwork, stained glass, and luxurious paintings. No, this isn't a 17th century estate, but a house from the early 20th century. Over half a century, it bore more than 3 owners, but remained completely unused. After all, no one lived in it. This was because there was a bad name about the house. People wouldn't stay for long despite its sophisticated design and architecture. Even pedestrians would avoid going past this building. But why was this the case? A small but sophisticated mansion, the house was built in 1912 in Belgium. The clients were the well-known, at that time, family of a German oil industrialist. When the First World War began, this settlement became one of the first targets for British shelling. The family fled the country, and the constant bombing destroyed all the mansions in the district, except for one. The German industrialist managed to get rid of the property at the end of the war, and until the 1960s, a shipbuilder's family lived there who complained about an invisible presence in the house. After some searching, they found a secret room filled with dolls. There were more than 300 of them, and they all looked pretty realistic, as if they were alive. The family moved out shortly afterwards, and as a result, the mansion, which is in perfect condition, sold at a ridiculous price and has not been lived in for more than 30 years. Those who bought it immediately tried to get rid of it. Why the mansion's tenants stay away, we may never know. Locals treated more akin to a museum exhibit. After all, the house, which stood through 2 world wars, is preserved perfectly inside. Dolls, mirrors, original televisions, and figurines, it looks exactly the same as it did 60 or more years ago. Would you like to discover a secret abandoned room in a mansion? Could it be a cache of gold or a priceless safe? Is it possible to unravel the hidden secrets of past residents? Write your thoughts in the comments.